Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today we're tackling a question that, well, it really hits home for a lot of people. Is that classic advice? Go to school, get a good job, save money, buy a house. Is that still the best roadmap?
Or maybe even, is it potentially harmful in today's world?
Exactly. Is it holding us back?
It's a big question, isn't it? Because that path, it's deeply ingrained. It's what we're taught. But, the sources we're looking at today, they suggest something radically different.
Yeah, a really different approach to wealth, to financial freedom.
A more potent one, perhaps?
Precisely. We are diving into the work of Robert T. Kiyosaki today, looking specifically at the core ideas from, well, his huge books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Rich Dad's Cash Flow Quadrant.
These aren't just finance books, are they? They're more like a different way of seeing everything related to money.
Totally. A contrasting lens, you could say, looking at wealth, financial education, what freedom really means.
And it's definitely unique, often provocative, too. Kiyosaki sets up this contrast, right, between traditional wisdom, which he calls the poor dad way of thinking, and these unconventional insights from his rich dad. It's not really about saying one is right and one is wrong. It's more about understanding two totally different financial blueprints.
Yeah, two different operating systems for money. And our mission, for you listening, is pretty clear. We want to pull out the most powerful, actionable ideas from these sources.
Kind of a shortcut, right, to understanding these fundamental money concepts that, honestly, you just don't get taught in school.
Not at all. So get ready for maybe some aha moments, things that might genuinely shift how you think about your money, your job, maybe even your whole future.
Let's unpack it.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning, the heart of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It all stems from the author's, well, incredible, unique upbringing, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's the foundation. He talks about having two dads, essentially, two father figures, each with a dramatically different take on money and life.
All right. Can you kind of set that scene for us?
Sure. So you have his biological father, his poor dad, highly educated man, PhD, respected government job. He really embodied that traditional path, security, steady paycheck, work hard for the system.
The path most people are encouraged to follow.
Exactly. Then there was his best friend's father, his rich dad. This guy was a high school dropout, interestingly, but he became a very successful businessman quite quickly.
Quite the contrast.
Huge contrast. And the key thing is, from a young age, Kiyosaki wasn't just fed one idea about money. He saw these two opposing views side by side. He literally had to choose who to listen to.
Wow. At a young age, too.
Yeah. And he says that choice, that single decision, shaped his entire life. It's a powerful starting point.
And these weren't just abstract ideas, were they? They showed up in everyday advice, everyday actions, like take money and risk. What was the difference there?
Oh, it was stark. The poor dad view was very much play it safe with money, don't take risks, be careful. Standard advice, really.
Well, most of us here, yeah.
Yeah. But the rich dad, completely opposite. His core lesson was learn to manage risk. Not avoid it, manage it. That's a fundamental mindset shift right there.
Huge difference. One avoids, the other engages strategically.
Precisely. And this thinking extends to something as basic as, well, what's an asset? The poor dad, like most people, saw his house as his biggest investment, his greatest asset. It's almost dogma, right?
Absolutely. The American dream tied up in the house.
But the rich dad threw a curveball. He said his own house was a liability. He actually said, my house is a liability, and if your house is your largest investment, you're in trouble.
Wow. Okay, that's provocative. Definitely sets the stage for understanding his definitions later on.
It really does. It forces you to question everything you thought you knew about assets.
It's a complete paradigm shift, isn't it? And even something simple like paying bills showed this difference.
Yeah, it's subtle but revealing. One dad, the poor dad, paid bills almost immediately. Get them out of the way. Responsible, right.
Seems logical.
The rich dad, though, he paid his bills last. Now, that sounds maybe irresponsible at first glance.
Right.
But Kiyosaki explains it wasn't about dodging bills. It hinted at a very different strategy, different priorities. Something else came before those expenses.
Interesting. So prioritizing where the money flows first.
Exactly. That choice is fundamental. The poor dad really believed in external security, the company, the government taking care of you. His focus was on pay raises, retirement plans, benefits, climbing that corporate ladder.
Seeking security within the system.
Right. The rich dad, totally different focus. All about financial self-sufficiency, building personal wealth. He believed real security comes from within, from your own financial intelligence and assets, not from an employer. He was about building your own ladder.
Okay, so if those are the two paths, what did Kiyosaki say was missing from traditional education?
Yeah.
Why don't more people take that rich dad path?
Well, his core argument is a massive omission. Financial education. Simple as that. Money as a subject just isn't taught in schools.
It really isn't, is it?
No. Schools focus intensely on academic skills, professional skills. They train you brilliantly to work for money, be a good employee, a skilled professional.
Yeah.
But they completely neglect teaching you how to manage money, or even more crucially, how to make money work for you.
And what's the consequence of that, according to him?
It's often quite stark. Kiyosaki points out that you see highly educated people, doctors, lawyers, accountants, people with amazing grades who still struggle financially their whole lives.
Yeah, you do hear about that.
Why? Because academic smarts don't automatically translate to financial smarts. They might earn a great income, but they lack the know-how, the financial literacy to manage it, grow it, protect it. Their degree gets them a job, but not financial freedom.
And he even connects this to bigger societal problems, right? Like national debt.
He does, and it's a pretty bold claim. He suggests that part of the reason for soaring national debt is that you have highly educated politicians and officials making huge financial decisions for entire countries. But often with very little actual training in finance or a deep understanding of how money really works. It's like financial illiteracy at a systemic level, potentially causing massive problems down the line.
That's a sobering thought. The ripple effects of not teaching this stuff.
Which leads to one of the rich dad's core insights. Money is power, sure, but financial education, that's more powerful.
More powerful than money itself?
Yeah, money can come and go, but if you have the knowledge how money works, how to make it, keep it, make it multiply, you gain lasting power over money. You can build real sustainable wealth. It's not just wishful thinking, it's about understanding the rules of the game.
It's like learning to fish versus just being given a fish.
Exactly that analogy.
And this core lesson, this difference between working for money versus having it work for you, Kiyosaki learned this really young, didn't he? Driven by a childhood experience.
He did. He talks about being 9 years old and feeling excluded because some affluent kids called him poor. That sting, that feeling of shame, didn't just hurt. It sparked his curiosity about money. It set him on this path.
So that was the catalyst.
Yeah. And his rich dad saw that spark. But instead of giving him a lecture, he designed this, well, unconventional course.
The 10-cent an hour job.
That's the one. He had young Robert and his friend Mike work in his little stores, dusting cans for a tiny wage, 10 cents an hour. Then, maybe even more controversially, he stopped paying them altogether for a while.
Wow, that sounds harsh.
It does, but the intent wasn't exploitation. It was a deliberate lesson. He wanted them to feel the frustration, the unfairness of just trading time for pennies. To understand viscerally that difference between a paycheck and having money work for them. To think bigger.
So he wanted life to kind of push them around a bit, so
Yeah.
the lesson would really sink in.
Exactly. He wanted them to hear it deep down, not just intellectually. Feel that pressure for a paycheck versus the liberation of financial independence. It perfectly illustrates what he calls the rat race.
Right, the rat race. Explain that concept.
It's central to his philosophy. He argues that most people's financial lives are controlled by two really powerful emotions, fear and greed.
Fear and greed. How so?
Well, there's the fear of not having enough money, right? The fear of bills, of being broke, of losing what you have.
Yeah.
Constant anxiety.
Okay, yeah.
And then there's greed, or maybe just desire. The desire for more stuff, nicer things, keeping up with the Joneses, looking rich. These two feelings, fear and desire, often unconsciously push people into this cycle. Get up, go to work, pay bills, maybe buy something nice, run out of money, feel the fear, need more money, go back to work. It's a loop.
Like a hamster on a wheel.
Precisely. That's the rat race.
And he challenges the whole idea of job security within that race, doesn't he?
He really does. He argues that a job, which most people see as security, is often just a short-term fix for a long-term problem. People cling to jobs out of fear of not fitting in, fear of vulnerability, but it's an illusion. You work harder, maybe get a raise, but taxes go up, expenses go up, debt often grows. You're running faster, but staying in the same place.
So the job isn't the solution, it's part of the trap.
In many cases, yes. And he says this whole cycle is fueled by financial ignorance. It's the lack of understanding about money that really ignites all that societal greed and fear.
How does that play out?
He gives an example. Doctors raise fees because their costs go up or they want more. Then lawyers raise their fees. Then unions demand raises for teachers, which means higher taxes for everyone. It creates this ever-widening gap between the rich, who understand how to navigate this, and the poor and middle class who just bear the brunt.
And he even suggests this widening gap could lead to societal collapse.
He makes that historical connection, yeah. He says history shows that when the gap between the haves and have-nots gets too extreme, societies tend to fall apart. We might learn dates in history class, he says, but we miss the crucial financial lessons. We keep repeating the same patterns.
Because we don't understand the underlying mechanics.
Exactly. And schools. They're mostly designed to create good employees, people who follow instructions and work within the system. Not employers, not people who create and own the systems. This lack of creative financial thinking keeps people trapped, working harder, but not smarter, not getting ahead.
It really highlights that the problem isn't always the income level, but the financial programming, the mindset.
That's the core message.